Sarah go market and she dash Adamu. Adamu carry the virus run come give him children for house. Now so the children carry the virus enter playground. From playground, it can't enter grandpa body. Grandpa take over, pass and give him friends as they shake hand for road. Now so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Now so corona enter box 18 and he say go! My people, if we give coronavirus chance, it go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful
Coronavirus no be our friend yo. Make we push am comot yo. Corona no be our friend yo. Say make we push am comot yo. My country people, you see this coronavirus, no be joke. Make we help ourselves and our government pursue this yama sickness from our country. Make we remember to wash our hand every time with soap and water. Make we not forget to sanitize our hand and wear face mask when we come out. Also, make we avoid crowd and keep social distancing when we come out. My people, if you see say you don't get symptoms, make you rush go hospital when they treat you. Coronavirus, no be our friend though. Make we remember say prevention better pass cure. Coronavirus no be our friend yo. Make we push am come out yo. Corona no be our friend yo. Say make we push am come out yo.
Welcome to Television Nigerian, and this is the Situation Room where we talk everything coronavirus. Now, at the end of Thursday, the 7th day of May 2020, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control confirmed 381 fresh infections in several parts of the country, with 4 deaths recorded. Now, the total number of people infected by the virus is now 3,522, with 601 cases treated and discharged, whilst 107 total fatalities have been recorded in the 34 states of the Federation and Federal Capital Territory. Now, that's the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, and this is COVID-19 Situation Room of Television Nigerian, a platform where we discuss everything pertaining to efforts geared at containing and ending the scourge of coronavirus in Nigeria. Welcome on board. I am Charles Ibe. Victor Temba is also in the room.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chess.
Welcome. All right, we have a very important guest in the studio. We'll be looking at also a very, very interesting and important topic, but that will be after this quick break. So join us again. Thanks for staying tuned. And just a quick reminder that you can be a part of this program by calling in on the number displayed on your screen, or you can also send in your contributions on the comment section of our portal. As the world faces the greatest disruption of our lifetimes, Muslims throughout the world are also grappling with the repercussions of coronavirus pandemic. But the Islamic cultural, spiritual, and theological dimensions offers Muslims myriads of ways of coping and going through the pandemic, especially in this holy month of Ramadan. That will be our focus today on the Situation Room, and we'll have in the room with us a prominent Nigerian and a leader in the Nigerian Islamic circles in the person of Imam Abdul Fattah Bello. He's an author and a lecturer at the Institute of Education, University of Nigeria, and also a facilitator at the Islamic Studies Department, National Open University of Nigeria. Welcome to Situation Room.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to have you here, sir.
Yeah, thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, you are a Nigerian,
Yeah.
and you've been in Nigeria,
Yeah.
and we know what we are going through, especially these very, very difficult times. At the inception, we did give out the figures of COVID-19 as it stands with Nigeria, over 3,000 deaths recorded and still counting. So what's your overview so far? What do you see about the whole situation with COVID-19?
Well, before we even look at it, we should thank God first for being alive. Because when they are talking of pandemic, they are referring to a war that can grab anybody and send the person to grave. We, as Nigerians, I don't think we are suffering anything that is different from what other people in other countries are suffering. The major difference is that we have an added advantage here, which I believe we should do well to grab. It's an opportunity.
Okay.
During the lifetime of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were challenges similar to this, but the ones that were more brutal happened after him. And as Nigerians, we are living in a country where we are living in a tropical region. And tropical region is a little bit hotter, which helps us to combat the virus. We also have herbs. What I will look at is that somebody who is going through Ramadan, which you said, the virus, because you asked me three things, I'm trying to look at it one by one. The situation, the environmental factor,
Yes.
which is being Nigeria, that is, being Nigeria is an advantage,
Okay.
because Nigeria is situated in a tropical region. Has it happened before? Yes, it has happened. It happened during the time of those who actually have practiced Islam before us.
Okay.
And several scholars of Islam have suggested way forward. Now, the issue now is that it also continues during the month of Ramadan, which means, based on the situational perspective we are looking at on this program, the issue now is that how does a Muslim cope with the pandemic when perhaps you don't have money, you need to go out, you are fasting, and it's not easy before to do that. In Islam, a legality can become an illegal. Something permissible, it will become haram. It is permissible for you as a Muslim to go out. Okay. But it might become haram to go out. It might become forbidden for you to go out if the dangers of going out outweighs the suffering in your houses.
Okay.
So what I would say there is that as far as the Sharia of Islam is concerned, our government has not done anything that really adds to the suffering of a Muslim, except for the fact that they didn't give food. If they have given food and they say people should stay at home, I did not see anything wrong in the step taken so far.
Okay, that is, you are talking on generally.
On generally.
Now,
So if somebody is now fasting,
yeah,
and he doesn't have the food, I'm still answering the same thing.
Okay.
And he doesn't have the food to fast, he will be forced to go out.
Okay.
To look for food, at least something with which he will break his fast, and that is where I see that it affects a Muslim. Otherwise, it affects the generality of mankind as a whole.
As a whole.
Yeah.
So earlier when you were speaking, you talked about perhaps Muslims that do not have the means to fast and all of that. And so my question would be, how does the Islamic world, the Muslim society, come to the aid of these people? Because there is, from whatever, there is something they call zakat, which seems to be a lesson donation to people of that nature and people who are also kind of less vulnerable economically. Yeah. So how does the Islamic world come to the aid of these people, taking into account these provisions?
Presently, I'll be able to speak on behalf of two organizations in Abuja here, because I'm party to them. Obafemi Awolowo University Muslim Graduate Association. I'm their imam. I've seen that so far they have actually, it is not everybody that has a job that really has a job that can withstand this kind of challenges. Some are working with private organizations that may not pay unless there is work, or that may pay halfway, or that may even make attempts to sack. So I think organizations like that, and there is another one that I'm not actually party to, which also works and which I know. That is Abuja Muslim Forum. They have also been helping. And presently I'm the coordinator of NASFAT in Kuje. So NASFAT also have helped. And we have seen individuals. In fact, giving out, based on my brother's question, giving out zakat. Some zakat collection units have also been asked that what have you saved so far to help vulnerable people in this type of situation? And some zakat bodies have there is a body called Zakat and Sadakat. They are not based here, they are based in Lagos, but they have alliance with the Jais Bank. They are also helping. NASFAT, based on my own little unit, that is Kuje. Even tomorrow, we are going to distribute some items which are palliatives. And what I will suggest is that people that I've even said it on radio this morning too, people that have should not hesitate to spend now. And I strongly recommend that people should help anybody they come across, regardless of ethnic, religious or tribal affiliation or whatever.
Okay. Because
this is something that can happen to anybody. It can affect anybody. And if you have things, I made mention of herbs, Islamic herbs. There are some herbs that are very effective, especially when you look at COVID-19. You see that the last area of its attack is in the lungs. There is a local, I'm not subscribing to, don't use any local something. You might use it, even if you are in an isolation center. Yes, if it will cure you.
Like local herbs.
Yes, let me mention one that nobody will disagree with me. This they call it a lady here. This palm kernel oil, black.
Okay.
It can fight anything that wants to disturb anything in the abdomen, and that is the final bus stop of COVID-19. And there is another seed, which is called black seed. In Arabic, it's called abatu sauda. The Prophet ﷺ said, it will not cure something if it is used only if that sickness is attached by the Almighty Allah to death. That is, if you use it and it doesn't work on a disease, then that means that thing has been ordained to kill that person.
Okay.
And the Oyo State Governor said he used it.
And it worked.
So if we can, what I would suggest is that this is the time we use, instead of following a one line approach, we should make a synergy of joining what we can. There are some things. Let me give you an instance. There are some things they operate upon. They will operate somebody upon in an hospital. Let me give you some, like when a woman is having a disorder, menstrual disorder. Sometimes it goes to the level of being operated upon before the person can feel well. But there are some things, there are some Islamic apps, you use it and it will work. And it will correct it back. Exactly. So why going for surgical operation if you can take something that will work?
All right.
So those are the areas I'm looking at. So if we want to follow the whites completely in their approach to COVID, we may record more deaths. That's where I'm going.
Okay. So in a way you are advocating
let's use what can also work here. Don't let us just condemn.
Yeah, homegrown solutions.
Except if by fact that, like what I mentioned now, if somebody now goes to laboratory and say that, oh no, this palm kernel can kill, which is not, which has not. So if you see somebody bringing something and he can say, let's go ahead and make our own research and see if this thing will help us out. I don't see any reason why we should reject them.
All right. Now we are in the month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And we know there's fasting and then prayers.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a congregational prayers for breaking of fast.
Yeah.
And all these things is a kind of the practice of it. It involves people coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Originally, before the COVID-19.
Yeah.
But now we have the situation of COVID-19. And how much has it affected fulfilling those, according to the Islamic injunctions, of people gathering and breaking fast together, and social distancing and all that? Has it been a challenge? Or is it been advocated for people to just do it based on your family levels, no congregation and all of that?
Okay. Well, I'm trying to search my brain and see some things that Islam allows you to do as an individual. There are so many. What I will remember now, may the listener forgive me. It may be more than what, but I think the things that cannot be done except in congregation is the Eid prayer. You cannot do Eid prayer on your own.
Okay.
You cannot do Jumat prayer on your own. And you cannot do Hajj on your own. But you can do Umrah on your own. That is lesser Hajj. So if you look at these three, those areas that are very, very fundamental there, that you must fulfill. The first two I made mention, that is Jumat service. If you don't go to Jumat service, you can pray 4 rakats of prayer. That is how we calculate each unit of a prayer. So there is 4 in non-Fridays. But on Friday you pray 2, half of it, when you go for congregation. And you have more rewards for doing that in congregation. Now, if you don't do it, you do fall at your home, you will still have your reward. It will not be as big as going to do it in congregation, but you are not denied that reward. Now that the Juma services are closed down, you have the same reward, so you are not losing anything. Okay. And Hajj is not even compulsory for everybody to go. In essence, what I'm saying is that as a Muslim, this thing is not happening to us. It has happened during the time of two of the caliphs, those who succeeded Prophet Muhammad. And at a time, there was a pandemic somewhere, and somebody was sent to go and represent the Muslim as the governor there. The person who was the governor died. They sent another person, he died. When the third person was sent, he now addressed the people. He said, to the best of our knowledge, you people, by coming together, you are the fuel with which this pandemic is spreading. So spread yourself. Go away from each other. Take whatever you can to survive. Move into the bush and mountains. Leave yourselves. Those who survive should now come back. And the pandemic ended.
So in a way, that's giving right to social distancing.
Yes. So if that one works, then it can also work now if we are really serious with the lockdown. So lockdown is allowed in Islam. It is allowed that you pray. In fact, in some instances, you are not even forced to pray congregationally. Let me come back to that Friday prayer. If you are on journey, you are traveling, you are expected to pray. You pray your 2 rakas, that is 2 units of prayer, which is the same equivalent with those people who pray in collectively, and you have the full reward. So Islam is very simple in that aspect. So there is no problem. If you are talking of they don't allow you to go and make congregation, as far as Islam is concerned, women are even encouraged not to go for congregational prayer. So are they not to enter paradise? So, and they will have the full reward. So the issue now is that when it baffles me when I see people fighting. They said some people were attacking police vehicle because they said they shouldn't pray congregation. I don't know where in which hadith or Quran or the Islamic history they come across that if you don't pray in Jama due to pandemic, anything is being recorded against you.
So such actions can be likened to extremism.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we group them in Islamic in Sharia as gulu, that is going beyond the banned sense for you. Okay. Yes.
Because when you look at it now, since you say there is no issue if there is this lockdown and they don't need to come together, but they also take into consideration that the federal government eased this lockdown and allowed businesses to open, people to go to the market and all of that, and then there are also been concerns from the others and Christian community that perhaps since the lockdown has been lifted or been eased for some businesses, including markets, that it could also be granted to the cycle of religious cycle, let the churches also go, the Christians go to church and the Muslims go to mosque. Do you think this should also be extended to the Islamic body? Yeah.
Well, Muslims, we value our lives. And mosque don't make money. The two are opposite. Church pastors are rich. Hardly can you see, I don't know, in this whole Africa, I don't know any imam that is going out with a jet. I don't know. And I don't know how you will walk as an imam and buy a jet and say the next thing is to buy is a jet. You can't buy it. I don't know. Except maybe you are a contractor, maybe you have some other means, but that you say this Allahu Akbar, and how much are you going to? So, as far as, and if you look at people calling for this issue, they are not the church goers. There are people who want to collect tithe. Perhaps some of them have sent text message to people. They have devised some things based on some reports we are hearing, and people did not respond. They want people to come now. What stops you from praying to God in your house? And God, if church or mosque were to be like hospitals, where you go, if you go, there is something in Indonesia. Some mosques were not closed down, but we don't know what they are using. It seems they are mixing something local with something. It will pour, it will just spray you, and then you pass through the system just as you are passing through some gadgets in the bank. It will spray you, and then you go in, and they pray, and it doesn't spread. So if there is something like that device also here, maybe we can use it. But as far as Islam is concerned, much value will be placed on the, and I don't think, I doubt, because the Secretary General of Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Professor Oloyede, he will not buy to such nonsense that you should waste somebody's life because you want government is easing down. It's a very careful.
But then look at it. It might not actually come from the point of saying it's going to waste somebody's life. Perhaps in the church, because this is one of the concerns that the federal government did not carry religious bodies along, because religious bodies, religious leaders,
okay,
they command the respect and
their followers.
Their followers. Yeah. So if perhaps the message was coming directly from religious leaders, their followers could actually adhere to and listen.
Yeah.
So the other argument is that if this easing of lockdown is extended to this in churches and mosques, that these two bodies have the capacity to command adherence to these guidelines that this federal government is giving.
Yeah.
More easier than if you try and get it in the market or on the street, basically.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an instance. I said I am being chosen as a coordinator of an organization in Kuje. I can talk to them through any means. It will work. I've been to Ghana and I give them instructions. So there is no need for us to gather ourselves and congregate when we know that it is dangerous for our health. Before I pass through my message will still go round. So the major thing is that what I will advise people is that, as far, I don't know, maybe somebody can come and say, no, in so far of the Bible, what you are saying is wrong. I'm not a Christian. But as far as Islam is concerned, if anybody dare says it, there will be so many evidences to counter the person that they should allow people to be mingling together. We have not come across such decision that does not place the value of human lives first before economy, because you are talking of economy now. That economy is going with the if people really I believe that this thing, if we come out of it, it will build us better. I'm telling you, because in a situation whereby you always move around, you go somewhere, you do so many things, sometimes idea comes sometimes when you are frustrated. Good ideas will come. I believe that, and what has been wrecking us back as a country, or even as religious bodies, because when religious bodies get money, it should be used to better the lives of those people who say they are adherents of that religion. So if it does not improve their lot, then what's the essence?
Okay.
You understand? So if you are calling for people to congregate, to do what? Is it to bring solution to the problem facing them, or to add to it?
Okay. Now, in line with this, this is your frame of thought now about people congregating.
Yeah.
Now, you know that usually when you go to the mosque for congregational prayers, there are two aspects of it. You have the sermon, then you have the prayers. So one can easily do the prayers in his house.
Yes.
But what about the sermon that has to come from a central, there will be a central authority, a higher authority that people lower look down to gain knowledge and all of that. So if they are missing out on this sermon, and of course we know that, I don't know how you do it, because like on the Christian Counterpart, they will tell you online, they will preach from online. Perhaps you are using that medium as well. So if they are getting it this way and people get used to it, isn't it going to endanger the faith in a way? Because after when the pandemic is done, people are already used to just sitting in their house and pray and getting sermons online. So what about the congregational church post-COVID-19?
Okay, I feel it will also help us. Let me tell you, sometimes we waste our time. It is this COVID that allows me to know that we can get results for something we usually waste our time that we are in meeting. We can get it online. I'm telling you, we are making decisions and things are working well. So it will help us to save our times for something that is now. If, for instance, you are a secretary or a chairman of an organization, and you feel that this meeting is taking too long, you can say, okay, so these following 3 aspects, we discuss them online, so time, and people will disperse, they go and do their work. This thing has given us that idea that we can shift some issues that will take much time to online discussions. So, as far as I'm concerned, health first. Health first. And I'm using this medium to appeal to our people not to be close-fisted to one another again. Whatever you have, you can save a soul. Just give. That thing might, something that is prompting somebody to go and to any length. 500 naira sometimes can solve it. This 500, no. This one will solve this thing against tomorrow. At least we have something to eat. So nothing is too big, nothing is too small. No fanatical belief that somebody living to me is a Christian, I'm a Muslim, or this is help anybody you can help for now. And I believe that we will all go out of this problem joyfully.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. We have been looking at the Islamic perspective of coping with the Ramadan, especially in terms of staying safe, staying alive, staying healthy, because this is a living body, this is a living human being that can pray, and Allah will hear and answer the prayers. We will go for a quick break now. We'll get to the news desk to take some news headlines. Our guest is still very much in the house. Join us again after this news headline.
the match don't start. Today na him first catch coronavirus. Him pass am to Sarah. Sarah go market and she dash Adamu. Adamu carry the virus run come give him children for house. Na so the children carry the virus enter playground. From playground, e come enter grandpa body. Grandpa take over, pass am give him friends as they shake hand for road. Na so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Na so corona enter box 18 and he say goal! My people, if we give coronavirus chance, e go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful
Coronavirus no be our friend Make we push am comot Corona, he no be our friend Say make we push am comot My country people, you see this coronavirus no be joke Make we for our government pursue this yamayama sickness from our country. Make we remember to wash our hand every time with soap and water. Make we no forget to sanitize our hand and wear face mask when we dey comot. Also, make we avoid crowd and keep social distancing when we come out. My people, if you see say you don't dey get symptoms, make you rush go hospital make dem treat you. Coronavirus no be our friend though. Make we remember say prevention better pass cure. Coronavirus no be our friend Make we push am comot Corona, he no be our friend Say make we push am comot Coronavirus no be our friend Make we push am comot Corona, he no be our friend Say make we push am comot My country people, you see this coronavirus no be joke Make we help ourselves and our government pursue this yamayama sickness from our country. Make we remember to wash our hand every time with soap and water. Make we no forget to sanitize our hand and wear face mask when we dey comot. Also, make we avoid crowd and keep social distancing when we come out. My people, if you see say you don't dey get symptoms, make you rush go hospital make dem treat you. Coronavirus no be our friend though. Make we remember say prevention better pass cure. Coronavirus no be our friend Make we push am comot Corona, he no be our friend Say make we push am comot
Many thanks for joining us again. It is still the COVID-19 Situation Room of Television Nigerian, and we have been looking at the Islamic perspective of Ramadan under a pandemic. As Mr. Bello, he is an author and a lecturer at the University of Abuja. He is still very much in the room, and we have very much been doing justice to how Muslims, especially in this month of Ramadan, should go along, practice their faith, and of course, practice every other thing that goes with the lockdown as occasioned by COVID-19, because staying alive is a priority. Now, we have talked so much about what Muslims are expected to do, things that we actually think are going to be very difficult because of the pandemic, that they actually might not really be a big deal after all, because there are ways of coping through all these things, going through it and still retaining your faith and all of that. So now, like, to solve the question I asked, actually, do you think, although you must have addressed it somehow, but I want to be specific, do you see Islam being a victim of this COVID-19 in terms of people's perspective to the Islam? Like, you did mention the technology aspect, but it's not every other person that can have access to internet or access to a radio, television, for them to listen to someone, which is very, very key in building that faith. Now these people cannot congregate, and they are in their houses. Perhaps they don't have electricity, they don't have phones, they have apps, and then at the end of the day, they have been so distanced, and bringing them back together, is it going to be a difficult thing?
Let me say that there is no way you cannot fill every vacancy. There will be some loopholes. But what is sure is that people that are going on the lockdown, they are not, I do not believe that they are going without anything at all achieved in form of admonition they've received before. So, and that should be something that they could rely upon for a few period. Just I'm buying. If a person without hearing sermon, without, so is it everybody that can get a Android phone and then get somebody speaking? You don't have access to radio in Nigeria. Radio, not TV, not handset. You cannot use the net. Could not, even when we want to conduct election, they say, okay, let us rely on the gadgets that only the rich could afford. Businesses were affected, relationships were affected, because for those I was forced to address the issue of family, domestic violence in the family up till last week, which shouldn't be. I supposed to be addressing issues that are concerning only maybe COVID-19 and fasting. So today is just the first time we are addressing what is going on, and I only address particles of what was left behind. Definitely something is suffering. We are living what we're supposed to do, because some other things needed attention.
Okay.
So it will affect the mosque, that is sure. It will affect the churches, that is also sure. It will even affect the traditional believers too for this year.
All right.
So that is just it. So, but just like I said before, we should place the of human life versus whatever we want to gain.
Okay, but as custodians of the faith now,
Yeah.
like this loophole you mentioned,
Yeah.
what specific steps are you taking to fill in? Because thousands or millions of people who are who are in this category that cannot reach to listen to that voice, to listen, like your Voice of Islam, you give out encouragement, you speak to your adherents directly.
Yeah.
Now, those that cannot congregate to hear directly from their imam at this point, are you making any arrangement to bridge that gap? Yes.
Okay, well, maybe organizations trying to produce tracts now, and tracts also has its limit. It's only somebody who hears the language with which you are writing the tract that can gain from it. Definitely, religion will also suffer. That is sure. But to reach those things, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, they are also trying to bridge up the gaps with because before the council is not the much of the activities come from the top.
Okay.
But now they are trying to make sure that most of the activities are devolved to the grassroots, because of the fact that they could not send a message from the center and it goes again. Even if some people want to go, it becomes difficult, except for where you can make a phone call and say, this is what you are doing, and they can see, which is also based on what I've said before, Android phones.
Exactly.
So the major thing is that scholars should prepare themselves. That will be my message to those we are passing the message to. There will be a lot of loopholes after the pandemic. for people to feel.
Definitely. So that might just be one of the lesson challenges that will be faced with at the end of the
Yes.
pandemic.
Yes.
So definitely, I just want us to look at the conflict between religion and science
Okay.
in this case. And if you recall that within last week and this week, there were some deaths in Kano that were termed mysterious deaths, and they could not really ascertain the cause of it because those who died, those that die are actually Muslims, and then according to Islamic right, they're supposed to be buried immediately. So autopsy cannot be carried out on them because of the religion and tradition. In this kind of situation, that we are in, will it be permissible that at a point you can neglect that aspect of the religion and then allow these bodies to be kept for years and then examined? Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, you see, even in issues that involve litigations, sometimes you need to force some Muslims to allow the corpses to be autopsized. They will not go for autopsy. That okay, for litigation reason, this case must go to court. This is somebody who died a mysterious death, and we need to know what was the real cause of the death. They will. They may not grant that access. It is based on the common belief that when a person has died, if he's a good person, take him to his good. If he's a bad person, remove bad things from your environs. That is the principle of Sharia. So, and except for where it becomes obligatory that people should leave their corpses to go through the autopsy, it may not be so easy. But the danger there is this. The danger there is that the issue of examining the body is not as risky as being closer to the person who is a carrier of COVID. And when you now had the principle of not allowing the body to be tested, you help the spread of the disease. And that is a big danger. So in essence, and even the way the Al-Majiris are being transported, I don't know where in the Quran or Hadith. Our politicians, they take some measures without using how many states even have a Ministry of Religion? So that they will call the Commissioner for Religious Affairs and they ask for his opinion before taking. So some of them, they take any decision that just suits them. So how could somebody say, even if you want to divorce a wife, I don't think this is the right time to tell her to go to their father's house. Because the reason is this. You may likely forgive her. But what of if she goes there and dies? And you later regret that if I had not sent your mother to their father out of annoyance and she stayed with us, she would have been with you now.
So basically, you are the opinion that in this kind of situation, they should be allowed to go? I mean, they allowed the bodies to be examined to ascertain the real cause of death.
Well, if they will,
no, but
it is better to save
others.
To save others.
But I'm saying that as you,
yes,
you as an imam,
yes,
will you advise your followers
people based on this situation? Yes.
Okay. And you also mentioned the fact that government will take decisions and then not consult religious listening.
Yes.
You understand that? Don't you think that there should be a demarcation between governance, the politics in governance, consider their policies, and then lesser religion. So perhaps they might do it that for the sake of governance, this might be this beneficial, but then they might not really want to follow the thoughts of religion as well.
Okay, let me give you something that is the way we view the running of the government. In Islam, there is no separation of state and religion. And in Europe, also before the Dark Ages, there was no separation of religion and the state. It was when Europe had problem with what the system then was called papacy, that the Europeans now rejected the seat of power and issue any order that contradicts the cultural acceptability of his people, he may likely have problem.
All right.
After the COVID. That's just it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Now, with your final word, especially to leaders, people who are handling this COVID-19 situation, taking care of the people. When you started, you did mention the fact that there were not enough palliatives. If not, people would have been nice, to stay at home.
Yes.
So now, those administering all of this, your final word to them right now, especially considering the fact that this is the holy month of Ramadan.
Okay, I pray that this thing goes to the Honorable Minister of FCT. My first message is to him as a brother. I said this thing on here before, and what later transpired pains me, because on any broadcasting in Nigeria, anything that you are broadcasting and more than 200 people are listening to you, NBC is taking your record. If you do make any mistake, they will get back to you. That no, what you are saying is against the code of journalism. Don't say that again. So I'm quite sure that the message might be killed along the way, because it was the first message I said that day, and it was based on some information I got. One, people are complaining that some goods being distributed are bad. Day before yesterday, I came out, somebody said the food given to him, the person was asking for help. And I said, they have come to your side and distributed food. He said, no, Imam, it's not like that, oh. Then somebody was with me. He said, Imam, me too, I don't have money, but let's go and help this person. If you are going, we go together. And I said, let me see the food they give to you. Honestly, wallahi, the only food out of the 4 food pack in that thing is the only beans there. I cannot eat any other ones. So that is the first caution. I said, anything you want to give to people, don't give them the thing you also cannot consume. That is one. NAFDAC, whatever, they should. Oyo State rejected the food, and we are blaming them. I also blame them, because I have somebody very close to the governor. And I said, this is how you are using people's life to play the politics. They bring food to you. And that was why I was eager to see the ones that is being complained about here. And truly, I saw it. I could not eat. I could only eat the beans. I can produce it for evidence if they say bring this thing. And I will show the COVID bag that they used to do it. Yes, that is one. But that was not, I sent 2 messages that day. I said the second one is that don't send people's palliatives through the Meyangwa, or how do you call it in Hausa here? The people that are traditional rulers, they don't, the people that will attack you during, that's how I place it down. I said people that will attack you, that they won't vote for this government again, are those people you might neglect now. That was my message, and the message is very tough. It's supposed to reach the minister. I don't know how it was killed. Such a message must reach him.
Maybe he has heard, maybe he's working on it.
So the question now is that the food being sent to people if you take I will send general message to Muslims. We are talking this FCT first. Let's solve this one. The food taken to people cannot reach them through people they don't usually relate with. The traditional leaders here, they don't have much relationship with the non-indigens. So you can't send you can't send somebody who lives in a far kingdom belonging to another dynasty to go and give food to my mother in my village. That food might be lost on the way. So the same thing will happen if FCT is not using the approach of this is what we are giving you to share among your people. This is to share among others. It will not work.
Okay.
That's just it. But for other states that are doing the palliatives, I will still encourage people, because we are making miscalculations. We think that the government has gotten big money. It is not like that. The monies that governments are using to buy palliatives, by my calculation, when I calculated it, I realized that the money contributed at the first instance, that everybody we are calculating could buy only about 150 trucks of rice. And if they should bring 150 trucks of rice to FCT, it will finish. Because each truck contains 600 bags. Won't we have 600 times 150 people in Abuja? So that's just it. So people that have, that is why I'm still emphasizing on that statement. If you have, just give. Do not wait for somebody to ask you, because he didn't ask for me. Somebody who is a level 15 officer, AD, may not have money to fuel his car to office now.
That's very possible.
So don't say because he didn't ask for me, that's why I'm hitting. I don't need to call him. Those are big men. Nobody is big now. So may God Almighty be with us all.
Right. Thank you so very much. You've spoken so very well. And we have been taking the Islamic perspectives of coping under a COVID-19 situation, especially in this very month of Ramadan. And our guest has been Imam Abdul Fattah Bello. Is an author and a lecturer at the Institute of Education, University of Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us. We will take a quick break now, and when we return, the program continues. I know by now you must have heard of the word Almajiri. If you have not, then maybe you are not in Nigeria. But after the break, we are going to talk so much about the Almajiris, and we'll have also someone else who is an authority in that area that will tell us so very much about this very group of Nigerians. Join us again after this break.
Coronavirus is a danger disease, we can fight it and win. Coronavirus is a danger disease, we can fight it and win. Wash your hands every time, don't ever shake hands. Stay away from mammals, they can cause infection. Stop again, we can chase it away. Oh, we can make it. Yeah, we can chase it away. Oh, we can make it. Yeah, we can chase it away. Coronavirus is a danger disease, we can fight it and win. Coronavirus is a danger disease, we can fight it and win. Don't be scared, we got this in our hands. God is on our side. Stay in your house if you feel positive to the situation, and keep a distance from a person infected with COVID-19. Come a doctor when you feel pain in your chest. Oh, we can make it. Yeah, we can
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out and move mountains. We gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. We'll take it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up.
Thanks for staying tuned, and if you're just joining us, this is the COVID-19 Situation Room of Television Nigerian. Now, the Almajiri is a system of Islamic education practiced in northern Nigeria, and it is also the name for a young boy who is taught within this system, which is more common with the male gender seeking Islamic knowledge, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. Now, the Almajiri system in Nigeria has been a source of concern and has been attacked for promoting youth poverty and delinquency, for failing to teach young boys vocational skills and thus making them unequipped for the workforce, and for radicalizing boys and making them perfect recruits for gangs and anti-social activities. Now, with the current COVID-19 pandemic, the system has been in the eye of the storm in Nigeria, as several of the Almajiris have fallen victim of the COVID-19, while some are caught in the crisis of relocation and relocation. Now, we have in the Situation Room today Mr. Mohammed Sabo Keana from the Almajiri Child's Rights Initiative, and we are going to be looking at the plight of the Almajiri, especially in this very difficult period of human existence. Thank you so much, Mr. Keana, for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for having me.
All right. Now, let's look at the Almajiri system. In this time, in this, well, what would you say, is it in this century, and we are still talking about this form of education as we see practiced in Nigeria. You are an authority in that area, so what can I tell us exactly in a holistic manner for the uninformed about the Almajiris?
Thank you very much. So let me first of all correct the impression that I'm an authority. I am not an authority. I'm just an advocate for the children.
Okay.
And so I was just speaking on the perspective of activism and all that, and as concerns the right of the children. Right. But of course, I can be able to say one or two things regarding the system and the current reality that we're facing right now.
Okay.
Just like you have said in your introduction about what an Almajiri system is and what the children are, of course, it has been a form of education system in the northern part of the country that has been existent for centuries, you know, and even before the coming of the Western education, it has been a system that has provided education for the northern part of the country, and so you have people going through the system and becoming very useful to the society, and then, you know, and all that. So it has been a good system and it has worked, in a way, up until we began to see the situation of the Almajiri children as associated with the system, where they have to beg on the street, they are out of school and all that. So it was a system that has worked before, and because of the change in times and reality around economic factors and all that, we can rightly say that it's not working, it's not functioning right now, and it needs to be reformed or suspended as possible. I mean, whatever the government thinks is more appropriate for them, So it's either they reform it or they suspend it, and that has been our position as advocate for the children.
Okay. As an advocate, you must have taken your time to study the practice, and you mentioned that even before the Western education came in, it had been a form of education that actually provided some notable individuals in the northern Nigeria. But as it is currently practiced, it appears it's a class thing, because I don't know if the children of the elites who are Muslims also do go through the system of the Almajiri education.
You're right. It's almost like a class thing, and of course, because indeed the children of the elites don't go to the Almajiris, and that's what we have also been saying over the time, that this system is nothing. It's not a culture, it's not religion, and it's not also economic factor, as some people want us to continue to take it, rather than because if you look at it in a way, just like I've mentioned, if you say it was a cultural thing of the people of the north, then we should have the emirs, because the emirs are supposed to be the custodian of culture. The elites, are supposed to be those that will have to promote the culture if it were cultural, So, but you see, it's not the case. It's only the children of either the lower class or the poor as a way that practice it. So if one can say it's a class thing in a way.
Okay. So now let's look at this situation around the lesson application of Almajiri from one state to another state, and some states trying to make sure that they close their borders to their entrance to the state. Mm-hmm. Now, as a right advocate, how does this action infringe on the rights of this group of people? And do you think it's also wise on the part of the government to take that kind of decision, those kind of policies, to move these people from one point to another, taking into consideration that most of these people who will move from one state to another state tested in their large numbers tested positive to the COVID-19? So the first question is, how does this infringe on their right? And secondly, is this a wise policy on the part of the government?
So, well, first of all, let me mention to you that as government, government have a responsibility to take legislative, administrative, and social measures to protect children, from abuse, exploitation, even while in care of their own parent. And so, while we're talking about the right of the children, government also have the responsibility to protect them, from abuse, danger, and all that. And if you look at it from the context of the relocation we are seeing right now, it was a two-way thing. We as an advocate, we did reach out to the government to say that you need to take a strategic response plan on the Almajiri children in the midst of this COVID-19. And we gave them two options rather. One, you should locate them and relocate them to their various community as soon as possible, because we envisage that we're going to reach to a level where we have the total lockdown across the state, across even the country at some point, And once you have a situation of lockdown, the children and the system that house them cannot survive the business as usual in a lockdown. What I mean by that is that an Almajiri child cannot stay without going out to go and beg to eat. So he'll have to be on the street. So if you don't relocate him to his community, to his parent, and you ask him to self-isolate and stay indoor, what will he eat? So it's going to be that he will be exposed to multiple vulnerability, which is hunger, and if he's in self-isolation, and if he comes out to eat, he's going to be exposed to the virus. So there was the option we gave that they should be relocated. And the other second option was, okay, feed them if you can't relocate them, feed them. So for me, the government must have looked at what option is feasible for them and sustainable for them, and then that's why they began the relocation. But let me also say that, of course, the relocation could have done in a more strategic way, in a better way that does not in any way infringe on the right of the children. And when I mean infringe, it does not have to be the fact that they are being moved, but the fact that they must be properly documented. The approach of relocation in terms of conveyance from one point to another must be properly done. They must be ensured that they are indeed reunited with their family. Their manner of evacuation must be done in a human right, in a standard form that does not undermine their dignity as children. So this for me at the point I would have loved to emphasize around this, because I've been hearing a lot of people making the talk around whether relocating them from one place to the other is a violation of their right. It's not, absolutely not.
So, if you say it's not their right, and I also like the fact that you are taking into lesson cognizance the dignity of their person as human beings and citizens. But then, from what you have said so far, there are a few concerns on my part here. So, you advise government, you and other groups concerning this advise government and give them option, and it seems obviously like they have chosen to go the first option of relocating these people to their various states and for whatever reason. So few questions also and a few concerns is this, but when you advise, did you also emphasize or do you also include in your advice the method of relocation? And you also consider yourself that if the whole this in lockdown starts, these children might not have where to get food, so they might have to go outside, which will also expose them to the virus. Where you are relocating them to, will there be food for them in those areas? Because I believe that if they were living okay in wherever they came from, they wouldn't have had the need to migrate to another city to beg for alms and stuff like that. So is there going to be food for them where they are going to be located? And then did you also include in your plan how these people should be moved? Because what we see from the videos and pictures are just people cramped in one place, and which also makes it a very fertile ground from transferring this virus from one person to the rest of the group, perhaps, which is one of the reasons why we have large cases turning back positive.
Well, I completely agree with the assumption about them being a vector of spread for one another. But okay, so answering your question more specifically, did we make a suggestion on how the evacuation to be made and all that? Yes, we the first letter we wrote, we made there's two options, the two recommendations, and because it was not in position papers, that was not included, but it was with the hope that they should be able to know what to do as policy makers. So we as at that point did not specifically give approach on way to go about it, instead of conveyance and all that. But we subsequently were able to issue a position paper alongside other organization, to be able to say that this must be the way. If you must relocate them, this is the way you should go about it. So we made such suggestion in the later day, although. The other question you raised was what?
Yeah, would they get food where they have been relocated to since?
Yeah. So in the first place, the reason why they come to the Almajiri distance wasn't because they don't have food to eat in where they come from. I mean, they came to learn the Quran education. That is their main purpose. Like I mentioned earlier on, people poverty and economic factors are what people are is being used to justify some of these issues. So, but even as that, if part of the in the letter we also wrote, the first letter we also wrote, we also make that position to say that government should also include these children in the palliative that they are being given, given to others. And what we subsequently advised was that now that you are transferring them from one place to another, it is going to be irresponsible for you to just send them back to their parent empty-handed, since there's an ongoing palliative program to support the poor families and all that. Then they should also be included. I mean, package some little things in a small bag and give it to them to also take it home.
When they are going back.
When they are going back home to their parents, that would have gone a long way to also support their family as they go back to their family. So that will, of course, it's going to just be a short time something for them and their family. Yes.
Okay. Now, what this action you're taking as a group for, it goes to say that perhaps there is a database of Almajiris. There is a known location where they are. There is a system that is like an organized system of Almajiris to the effect that government knows where to go and pick them and put them in a bus and take them back home. Now, over time, there has been a lot of concerns about the system. So what do you think has sustained this system over time, especially the negative practices of them begging on the street as just opposed to receiving an Islamic education? So what has sustained this, especially the practice, the way it is, the negative aspect of it?
Lack of good governance. That was, for me, is what has sustained the practice up to this point. And when I say good governance entails three things: state responsiveness, state accountability, and state accountability, and what other one? I think I forgot. And this has to do with those in leadership position being responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of the citizen. Just like you have mentioned, we see these children begging on the street for decades, but there have not been any serious commitment and political will by those in government to do something about it.
Is there not like a cultural impediment?
Let me just land on this. I mean, even if there was cultural impediment, those are all assumptions. Just I have mentioned for you, and that's why I know that people have always tried to use justification that because it's either religious, cultural, and that's why it has been sustained up to this point. We did a kind of deep system analysis of why it's existed up to this point, and we were able to counter all those claims. It's not cultural, it's not religious, it's not economic, and that's why I didn't mention them to you. It is lack of good governance and the political will, and just like we have seen now that there is similarly a political will among the governors. And we have seen that they are determined that something must be done about it, and even within very few distance, they are taking real action to solve it. So you cannot see that there's nothing cultural about it. If it's culture, all of the governors are Muslim, they are Hausa, they are Fulani. And we mentioned about the issue of the class thing. So there couldn't have been a hindrance, they couldn't have been, yes, those issue, culture, religion and economic factors indeed played roles in bringing about the system, sustaining it up until this point. And you can clearly, give the period in which all of this play roles in it. So I strongly believe that the reason why the system has sustained up to this point are none of those issues, but that of a political will and lack of good governance in terms of ensuring that using state capability to do what is right in terms of implementing laws, being responsive and showing empathy as leaders to the poor children you see every day on the street, and then doing nothing about it. And then of course corruption was the third one I was talking about. Lack of providing the school infrastructure in the community where they come from so that it can even serve as an alternative for the parents to even send their children and all that. So these are the three things that have sustained the issue up to this point, and not what everybody has been claiming to be. Okay,
your group now, have you at any point tried to interface with the people that run this system? Because it's understand that they have, I don't know what they call them. Is it malams or someone that trains them, because they come to get an Islamic education? Mm-hmm. They are under some kind of tutelage. Do you, in the course of your advocating for these children, do you interface with these people that train them, these imams or malams or whatever, to find out exactly why this system is run the way and what they can do to turn it around?
A lot. We of course, for the past all the time, I mean, we have been engaging them. We have been interfacing with them severally, and so what I keep telling people is that because people don't understand the psychology around why the system has sustained up to this point, so we keep applying some or giving some excuses as to justify something. And I keep mentioning that this is a norm. It's a norm, and you don't a norm, like I keep defining a norm. A norm is a habitual practice that people engage in it over time and sustain. So they see it as a normal something, and when you're trying to address a social norm, you that are trying to address it, there's what is called societal expectation. Societal expectation is different from social norm. You having a societal expectation of what certain things should be or the way it should be. So you now have that expectation and view, but the person who is practicing the norm doesn't see what you see.
And convincing that person might be very difficult.
Exactly. So the first thing is information intervention, enlightenment, education of the person to say that this is not correct, this can be done. And we have done it to them, and we have seen they have been very responsive. I could show, if you go to our YouTube channel, you could see some of the malams saying, okay, yeah, we want change now, we want the system to reform now, we don't like the way these children are begging, we want them to also go to have schools, but that's because either they have been informed or they have been enlightened, to change their mindset that this could be done better, this could be reformed to make the system more functional, more educative, and more performing for the children, for the society, and for the country, So it's not as if the malams want it to continue that way, but it's because they grow up inside it, and so they see it as a normal thing. Yeah, Christian, maybe because your father was a Christian.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I wanted to quickly add, what about the Almajiri schools? We had the past government talk so much about our Almajiri schools, trying to make a blend of the Western and the culture and make it more organized, the environment and all of that. What is the state of those Almajiri schools right now?
The state of those schools, they are not functional. Very little are functioning. But they are not functional because they were not built on sustainability in terms of financial sustainability of it. And also, it was more of top to down, bottom approach of solving the issue. And just like I've mentioned as well, that the first you can achieve it's very easy to achieve, to address this issue, and you can achieve the education, nutrition. You can even teach them in robotic engineering or artificial intelligence if you want, but you must have a framework that is sustainable.
Okay.
You must have a framework of implementation that is sustainable, and you cannot have a framework of intervention that is sustainable without reforming the system. And reforming the system does not mean feeding the children. It does not mean paying the malam money. It does not mean bringing a teacher to their school to teach them maths and English or something, or teaching them or skill acquisition. That is not reform. The reform has to come around key component of the system. First of all, a reform means removing something or adding something to something that you say is not working to make it work better, right?
Yeah.
So what is it in the component, in the practice of the Almajiri system that is hindering some of these interventions for these children.
And needs to be reformed.
Exactly, need to be removed. It needs to be reformed. So those schools were not working because the system was not reformed. Okay. So building those schools does not mean that it's being reformed and all that. So if the reform action that would have first been taken, which is now being done now, is to say that let every children go back to their original state.
Okay.
So there must be a reform around the migration aspect of the system.
Yes.
There must be a reform around the privatization aspect of the system, where because my father was a Malam and then I become a Malam, or anybody who finished from Al-Majri or who can read the Quran can just go up and set up any place and become a Malam. There must be a reform around that place. There must be a reform around the multiplicity of the setups, whereby in Asokoro area here, you can have more than 5 different Malams just scattered around, in Malam. There must be around reform of those systems. So once you have that reform, and of course there must be a reform that also ensure a shared responsibility between the parents, the government, and maybe the community who want to support these children. So in other words, there must be a way in which the parent play a minimal role in support of the children, no matter how little it is. So once that is done, then you can build those big schools and then it will work. Otherwise, you can continue to build them, they will not be functional.
All right, so I actually wanted to take you back a little before we move on to another very important issue. When you mentioned about making suggestions to the government how to really go about the lesson allocation of the Al-Majiri, I was very interested to know some of those recommendations, specific recommendations you made to the government. Later, you say afterwards people made. I would have loved to know the specific recommendations you made to the government.
Okay. So, I mean, one of the specific recommendations has to be with the fact that the children should not be crammed in the buses the way we are saying. I mean, like the Plateau State governor, they were a little bit insensitive and irresponsible in the way they have conveyed these children in the first batch, where they put them in an open lorry and in trucks. I think that is a bit irresponsible for them to do that. So, in one of our recommendations was to say that these boys need to be, first of all, properly profile. You profile them, their names, and then attach their names with photos, because some of us are interested to know if they eventually meet their parent or not. And then have a proper, their names and documentation and the community where they come from, So those are some of the specific recommendations we made. And then when they are being transferred, they must be transferred in a dignified manner. And then they should also be tested. Before they are moved. Either they are moved, or if they arrive at their location, they must be tested and quarantined for 14 days, which some of the state governors did not do in the first instance, like Katsina State. They did not test the Al-Majiri children.
First time they came in?
Exactly. So that can increase the risk of the spread of the virus. And these children, if they must be treated with all sense of dignity as children and all that. So these are some of the specific recommendations we made.
Okay, those are very nice. Now another matter is this: like in the face of this whole situation that we are in, there are concerns from a lot of people that this might also breed a very fertile ground for terrorists who want to go into the communities to recruit members to their ranks, taking advantage of the situation. And then when you look at most of these locations of Amajiris are actually moved from places like Kanu, places like Kaduna, to other more places far away northern states like the Kebbi, Borno, Jigawa, which you say experience much of this lesson terrorism. If they take them back to these communities and they get to mix, and these terrorists also taking advantage of recruiting members, wouldn't they serve as useful tools in the hands of these terrorists? Because they're also looking at the fact that one of the ways or why they could take advantage is the fact that if it doesn't get to some certain areas which is being controlled by these terrorists mostly, they might use it to say that, okay, where it's happening the most, this is where that their God is really punishing people there. So it might just be a sound argument on their own part anyway. So taking them to these parts and taking advantage of this situation, wouldn't they be useful tools in the hands of these terrorists?
That I don't know about that, but what I know is that taking them back to their community is something that should be done.
Can you support them?
Absolutely. Whether it's post-pandemic or before, I mean, the only thing is that the timing may be wrong. If only the hit to our call that we made much earlier on, so for me, relocating them is the best. But of course, whether they can be used by terrorists, for some of us, we have been saying that the consequence of depriving these children of education, livelihood, and all that for the past 20, 30 years is it can lead to what you're talking about, being used for violence and terrorist activities, and that is. I mean, nobody can deny that fact. They can indeed be used for terrorism activities, for political thuggery, for banditry, and anything. And that's because if you are not educated to think rationally, and you don't have also the opportunity to have a decent paying job, anybody can come and buy your conscience and all that. But it has even been scientifically proven by the Global Education Trust, that people who are not who don't have opportunity to have education are 9 times more likely to be recruited into terrorism and all that. So what your fear or people's fear around them being used is justifiable, but I'm not sure that it is justifiable just because they have been transported back to. I mean, they are already Almajiri in all of these places I mentioned in Modringoro and all that, and which has also been the fear of a lot of people that these children are of course exposed to be recruited into violent activities. All
right, thank you so very much. Our time is fast spent, but before you go, I want to actually right now address the parents, because these are the source of these Almajiris. Parenting. Mm-hmm. If the family, if the mother, the father, they are responsible, they wouldn't have sent their children, irrespective of whatever reasons for them to send them out. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, using this opportunity, what will you be actually advocating right now for parents to do in the light of they being moved back effectively to their parents now? What would the parents do? Or is it now an end to the Almajiri system, moving them back to their parents? What should be the next thing?
For their parent?
For the parents and then for government.
For the parent, I know they are not listening because they are not watching TV probably. So, but just like I tried to mention to us that the parent, for me, they are not too much of the problem. You know why? Because like I told you about the norm factor, the social norm issue. If there was a consistent advocacy and enlightenment for them over the years, it can change their mindset.
The parents' mindset,
exactly.
Because they are the ones that will allow their children to go.
Yes. In any case, if government have also been responsive enough, they can also prevent the parent from sending their children to it. So that's why I try to focus more on the government than the parent, because like I mentioned to you that constitutionally on the UN Convention on Rights of Children and even Africa Charter and even our Child Rights Act says that government have the responsibility to take all these measures to protect the children from abuse. Exactly. So if a parent is being irresponsible by sending his child to a harm's way, government has the responsibility to protect the child, take all the measures it can take. So it has been more about government irresponsibility than the parental responsibility. The parents that are sending their children, of course, they are irresponsible, but the government is more irresponsible for not. So that's on that. But to also say that now that the children are returned back to their community, very good opportunity for we, the citizens and the parents, now to hold the government accountable on the real issue. And the next campaign will be send Almajiri children to class.
Formal education.
The definition of class is not the class that you know. Community learning Almajiri school system.
Okay.
And what we're saying is that if they are going to Sokoto from Maiduguri to learn Almajiri, they can learn it in their own community. That there could be an Almajiri set up in their community that allows them to attend the Almajiri school and also go to formal education within their community. You know, they have this one at this point.
They can split the timing.
They can split the timing and go.
Okay.
So because we're not going to say because we don't like the system or it has been bad, it should be disbanded. I mean, a lot of people don't agree with that.
And also taking the cognizance of the fact that there is this school feeding system now.
Exactly.
Perhaps government can cash in on this.
That is it.
Make it more attractive for the students, knowing that you are going to have a meal if you come to Almajiri school, and also there's another meal waiting for you if you go for a conventional school. So it will be a kind of bait.
There you go. So now the next phase of what everybody needs to be involved in ensuring that these children don't come back to the street is now to hold government more accountable now, because it lies squarely on the government. There should be more schools in the community where these children come from, and ensure that they send them to class.
More schools for Almajiri, more schools in our local communities, more responsibility for government, and also more responsibility for every individual in any community that you find these people. It is not just about government, it's about you, it's about me, it's about people of means coming out to ensure that these children do not go back to the streets, because they have been faced with a lot of challenges. A lot of them don't even live to tell their experiences, the ones that are documented and the ones that are not documented. So the onus belongs to Nigerians right now. These are children, these are Nigerians, these are the future of Nigeria, and they have to be taken care of. Thank you so very much for coming. We have been speaking with Mohammed Sabo Kiana. He's from the Almajiri Child's Right Initiative. It's an advocacy group, and they've been doing so well and doing so much for the rights of the child, especially the Almajiri children. This conversation is endless. There are so many facets when it comes to talking about Almajiri, when it's talking about child's rights, the rights of the Nigerian child, whatever they are, in whatever situation they find themselves. Thank you so much for coming once again.
Thank you, Mr. Charles.
And thank you out there for being a part of the Situation Room today. This is where we draw the line for the Situation Room. Join us again tomorrow. I'm Charles Sibe, and
I'm Victor Tehemba. We'll see you tomorrow. No, sorry, Monday actually.
I'll be back again on Monday for some more on the COVID-19 Situation Room. Have a lovely weekend, and remember to stay safe so that we will all converge again on Monday for more talks on COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now the match don't start. Today na him first catch coronavirus. Him pass am to Sarah. Sarah go market and she dash Adamu. Adamu carry the virus run come give him children for house. Now so the children carry the virus enter playground. From playground, it can't enter grandpa body. Grandpa take over, pass and give him friends as they shake hand for road. Now so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Now so corona enter box 18 and he say go! My people, if we give coronavirus chance, it go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful
Coronavirus no be our friend yo. Make we push am comot yo. Corona, you no be our friend yo. Say make we push am comot yo. My country people, you see this coronavirus, no be joke. Make we help ourselves and our government pursue this yamayama sickness from our country. Make we remember to wash our hand every time with soap and water. Make we no forget to sanitize our hand and wear face mask when we dey come out. Also, make we avoid crowd and keep social distancing when we come out. My people, if you see say you don't dey get symptoms, make you rush go hospital make dem treat you. Coronavirus no be our friend though. Make we remember say prevention better pass cure. Coronavirus no be our friend yo. Make we push am comot yo. Corona, it no be our friend.